So tuples are this thing where you can, in Swift, I haven't seen them in other languages, maybe in Python they exist, where you can group multiple values, 2 or more, into a single variable that is the tuple basically. And in this example we have, in the Swift example, we have just the status code of 404 in a tuple, where let's say you want to store 404 and not found, and you would sort those two variables like so. Oops, actually I'll delete this just to show you from the beginning. If you want to open new playground, like I have here, you can go to File, New Playground, and to define a new tuple, I'm going to define it as constant, because remember, it's good practice to define constant if you don't plan on changing them, and if you do need to change them later, you're going to just change this let to var. So let, and I'm going to define status code, and you can define tuples in parentheses like so, and all the values you want to group, you're going to put them inside here, where my cursor is right now, and you're going to separate them by comma, sort of like you do with arrays. So we're going to say 404, that's what we want to say first, then add a comma, and I add my text in here, which is going to be not found. And that's basically how you define a tuple. Swift is type inferent, so it can infer the type of this variable. So as you can see, that's why we didn't specify the type, but we can, and we can do that by adding these, and then just saying, adding this again, this parenthesis, and here you can say int, basically the type of the first variable you're storing in your tuple, and then we're going to say string because we're storing this thing. Also note that when defining tuples, you can, or maybe you don't have to basically store values that are of the same type. Here we have an integer and also a string. So another thing you can do with a tuple is you can decompose their values into variables, and you can then use these variables as you please. So it's sort of like I don't know how it's called, this thing where you do the same thing you would do in arrays in React, or I should say in JavaScript. So you would say let, and we're going to decompose two variables because that's how many we have. We're going to decompose them, we need to define these parentheses and the first name of our first variable here, which is going to be this variable. So 404 is going to be stored in this, and in the second variable we're going to store this variable, or value I should say, and we should say equal to status code. And now if I just print v1, you're going to see 404 being printed out, and for v2 you're going to see not found printed out. And that's how you can decompose this, and you can name them whatever you want. Let's say you would call this status code number. Also, when decomposing a variable like this from a tuple, you can, if you want to ignore some variables or some values from the tuple, you can just do it the standard traditional Swift way, where instead of having a name here, specifying a name, just do an underscore. Also, you can return these tuples from functions, and you'll see what are functions, just so you know, in the next video. And also you can access the values stored in this tuple if you just say print the name of the tuple, and that and as you can see, autocomplete says 0 or 1. So you can just access these values. If you go to the 0 index, you're going to get the first value. It's sort of like an array. And if you go to the second one and just say .1, you're going to get the second value. So if you enjoy videos like this one, make sure to subscribe here. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.